For years, I lived in a state of waiting for the perfect timing, the ideal opportunity, the right amount of courage that would finally push me forward. It was like my life was frozen in time, hanging somewhere between who I wanted to be and who I actually was, caught in that invisible gap between desire and action, always suspended, always paused. I kept telling myself I just needed a little more clarity, a little more certainty. I convinced myself that if I waited long enough, I'd be ready, that somehow one day things would just align, that the fear would vanish, that I'd suddenly know exactly what to do. But the truth? I wasn't waiting for clarity. I was hiding behind it because clarity is safe. Planning is safe. Staying still, it feels like control. And for a long time, control was my armor. It gave me an illusion that I wasn't wasting time, that I was being strategic, wise, when in reality, I was paralyzed by the fear of failure, paralyzed by the fear of being seen trying and not succeeding. I used to repeat to myself, I'm just being patient, I'm just waiting for the right moment. But deep down I knew I was stalling. I knew that underneath all the overthinking was a simple, bitter truth. I was afraid. I feared starting something I couldn't finish. I feared disappointing others. I feared disappointing myself. I feared being seen in motion but going nowhere. So instead, I stayed perfectly still, waiting for a moment that never came. Until one ordinary day, a question hit me harder than any failure ever could. What if the right moment never comes? It wasn't just a thought, it was a jolt. Like a spotlight suddenly shining on every excuse I had built over the years. It forced me to sit with the uncomfortable realization that I had spent so much of my life preparing to live, that I had forgotten to actually live. The truth was harsh but liberating. There is no perfect moment. The right time doesn't exist. It's a myth we cling to in order to justify our fears. It's a delay tactic, a way to convince ourselves we're not wasting time, even when we are. And I saw it clearly. The more I waited, the more I lost. Lost opportunities, lost growth, lost joy, lost time. The only thing more terrifying than failing was realizing that I had wasted years standing still. That realization shook me, and something inside me cracked. The illusion I had been holding onto that safety came from waiting began to dissolve. So I made a decision, a quiet, personal, powerful decision. I would stop waiting. I wouldn't wait for confidence to magically appear. I wouldn't wait for permission. I wouldn't wait until I felt ready. I would move, now. My first step was simple, almost invisible to anyone else, but enormous to me. I picked up a notebook and began to write. Not because I had a clear plan, not because I knew what would come of it. I wrote because I needed to. Because action, no matter how small, was better than more waiting. That first action led to the next. And then another. I sent the message I'd been avoiding for months. I signed up for something I had always put off. I showed up to conversations I had previously dodged. Slowly, the momentum built. And then something strange happened. Life responded, not with miracles or dramatic changes overnight, but with little shifts, tiny openings. People I needed appeared. Ideas flowed more freely. I began to notice things I had never noticed before. Doors I hadn't seen because I was too busy waiting for the right one. Every time I moved, something moved with me. It was like life had been waiting for me to go first. I learned that confidence doesn't precede action. It follows it. That clarity doesn't show up fully formed. It emerges through motion. That courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. And perhaps the most freeing truth of all, perfection is a trap. It's not just unreachable, and it's unnecessary. Waiting to be perfect is the fastest way to never start. And once I let go of needing everything to be lined up, things began to line up on their own. I made mistakes. Of course I did. I stumbled. I doubted myself. I questioned whether I had made the right decisions. But those moments of discomfort taught me more than all the years I had spent overthinking in silence. I realized something else too. The unknown isn't something to fear. It's a place full of potential, a place where transformation happens. Growth doesn't come from safety. It comes from risking something, from trying, from living. And slowly, my life started to feel like it belonged to me again. It wasn't about suddenly achieving everything I wanted. It was about reclaiming motion, reclaiming presence, reclaiming the part of myself that had been buried under doubt and hesitation for so long. There are still moments when I feel the urge to wait, when fear whispers that maybe now isn't the time. But now I recognize the voice. And I know that waiting rarely leads to change. Action does. Looking back, I don't regret the fear. I don't even regret the years I spent stuck. Because they taught me what it feels like to be asleep inside your own life, and how powerful it is to finally wake up. When I stopped waiting for the right moment, everything started to happen. And more importantly, I started to happen. I stopped existing in theory and began existing in truth. And maybe that's the moment I had been waiting for all along.